All right. Hello and good evening, and welcome to the second episode of Breck Time Broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We have been planning this event tonight for many weeks, and we are super excited tonight to have the panel that we do to talk about the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. And tonight, I am blessed to have three rock stars in the Credentialing Assistance Program in general on this panel tonight. So I know that this has been long overdue, and we've been waiting for this for a very long time, so we're going to get right to it. But I do want to thank all those watchers that are going to come in, and let me be first to tell you, if you have questions during the presentation at any time, please comment, put your comments on there, and we will get your questions answered online if we can. If not, the Sergeant Escude promised me her and her team will consolidate all the questions, and they will get answers out to us, to you all. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the panel for tonight's broadcast. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to do their own personal introduction, but I want to introduce Miss Sophia Sweeney from the HRC, Master Sergeant Janna Escude, and the one and only Command Sergeant Major Teresa Duncan is on the panel tonight. So Sophia, I'd like to go ahead and start with you, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move on. So please, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Sophia Sweeney. I am a soldier for life. Uh-oh, got an echo. Okay. I'm a retired first sergeant, and I did 20 years as an MP. Upon transition, I worked as a contractor, and I found my passion in education as a transition education counselor, where I was helping soldiers who were transitioning out of the Army and to pursuing higher education. I'm currently a DA civilian or a GS employee, performing duties as the Army Credentialing Assistance Program Manager, as well as the Army COOL Program Manager under Access Army University. Cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. And to Sergeant Escude, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Master Sergeant Janna Escude. Currently, I hold the position as the Senior Enlisted Advisor for Access. I'm also a military police. I've been in this position currently for about a year. And I unfortunately am going to be leaving in the next few months to head to Fort Leonard Wood to join as a first sergeant, but I'm excited to take my knowledge about the credentialing program, to the formation that I'm going to have there.
All right, fantastic, awesome. Okay, we got the comments starting to roll in already, which is a good thing. All right, to you, Sergeant Major Duncan, please.
Hey, good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank James for broadcasting us. It means so much, brother. For everyone out there, I hope you're safe and well. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. And we hope to answer as many questions as possible. I am the Army University Command Sergeant Major. I love going out and talking about education. And I'd say the only downfall to what we're doing tonight is not being able to see your faces. So please know, if I've been with you before, I miss your face. And if I have yet to meet you, I miss your face as well. Thank you, brother.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for that. All right. So without further ado, because I know we're going to have a lot of information. We have lots of questions lined up, and we're going to have a lot of feedback, I'm sure, from the field. So let's dive right into it, because everybody wants to know about the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. So Teresa, I'm going to start off with you, please. So if you can please tell me, what is the Army Credentialing Assistant Program all about, and what is the regulation that covers it?
Hey, great. Thank you for that question, brother. Great question. Credentialing Assistance Program assists soldiers in attaining their credentials that are recognized throughout industry and the Department of Labor. These credentials challenge your defined skills, knowledge, and abilities within the military, and then they add value and competitiveness for when you get out. Credentials improve the Army's readiness through our 3 R's, recruitment, retention, and retirement. Funding's available for volunteer off-duty courses and exams. You can find all of them on the COOL Army website. and it's in the regulation, Army Regulation 621-5.
All right, fantastic. Great. Thank you so much. All right, this next slide is going to be, or this next question is going to be for Janna, because I know that when we talk about credentials a lot, we get a little bit confused about the different types of credentials. So please, Janna, explain to us, what are the different types of credentialing?
Okay, like Sergeant Major Breckenridge said, you know, it can get a little bit confusing when understanding these, and I think this just generates an awesome snapshot for soldiers and those viewing to be able to get a better understanding. Your mandatory credentials are, we'll use the medical field as an example. Before they can actually hold that MOS, there are certain mandatory credentials they must hold. So that's what that stands for in that category. For the institutionally delivered credentials, some of the academies when they have students going through for different PME or functional training, they might be offered per their MOS institutional credits. So that's kind of what those fall into. And then you have your self-directed credentials, or like I like to say, your self-desired credentials. These are the ones where you go to the Army School website and you look around and you see what interests you, or maybe you're more interested in what can further enhance your MOS, or maybe you're interested in the promotion points, whatever it may be. This is where you go, and we talk the CA piece of it. But this is where you're going to go to kind of look around and see what you're interested in, to be able to use your credentialing assistance money and pick some credentials and take those and better educate yourself. A little bit further down on the screen, what we additionally have in the credentialing program is basically we have the apprenticeship program. And this kind of is similar to what unions do, but it's where soldiers have the ability, based off of their MOS, to go into the apprenticeship program and log hours, and their supervisors will validate those hours, and then they're able to, once they complete logging those hours, they can supply that to the Department of Labor, and they can get a certificate from that can be used. And we'll talk more about that later on. And then additionally on there, we talk about stackable credentials. What these are, basically, they could either be skill level, meaning skill level 1, skill level 2, skill level 3. When you look in Army Cool, that will tell you what skill level you're doing. One of the other things that it has is based off of that desired credential. And we'll use, maybe you want to be a parachute master. You have different levels that you have to work up to till you can actually be that parachute master. You might just start parachute and then proceed up from there. But that's what they're talking about when they say stackable credentials.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. That was definitely exactly what I was looking for you to get out, was kind of tell us what the difference is. So thank you for that. But now let's talk eligibility. Tell us, who is eligible for the continuing, I'm going to call it the CAP, the continuing, the Credential Assistance Program. Tell me, who is eligible for it?
So active duty, warrant officers, and of course our National Guard and Reserves. As far as the eligibility and rules, it's for credentialing assistance, it's voluntary, so it means it's happening while you're off duty. If you're a soldier that unfortunately has had some hardships and maybe you're under provisions of AR 600-8-2 and you wouldn't be eligible for CA. If you failed a course or withdrawn from course, you failed an exam, or maybe you failed to sit for your exam in the time frame that you were required to take that credential, these are also other reasons why you wouldn't be eligible, or you don't meet the rules.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I think that was very self-explanatory for that. Okay, great. All right. So, over to you, Teresa. So can you tell us, what does the continuing credentialing assistance program, what does it pay for, and how much money can a soldier have every year, or how much money can we use, or something like that? Can you educate us a little bit about the dollars?
Sure, absolutely. It's all about the fundage. So it pays for all necessary books, supplies, and associated materials that are approved that are approved training courses and exams. You can use both federal tuition assistance and credentialing assistance. Combined together, you can use up to $4,000 every fiscal year.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So there's a question that just came up on the feed, so I kind of want to dive into it as they come up, and I'll leave this open to whoever wants to take this one, but I think this might be more for Janna. But whoever wants to take the question from Will Chandler, he says, thank you for doing this. I'm a 92 Yankee, and he wants to get certified in welding. Will the credentialing assistance in COOL facilitate that?
I'm going to let Sophia have it because she knows more about what credentials are actually embedded in COOL.
Your mic is muted. Sorry, Sophia.
Yeah, I gave the whole answer and I was on mute the whole time. Jeez.
It's okay.
Okay, so anything that's within Army COOL, even if it's not aligned to your MOS, you are able to pursue it as long as you're eligible to use credentialing assistance. So yes.
Okay, great. And we're going to talk more about COOL, the website, later on in the broadcast. So Will, hold on. We're going to get to the part to where we're going to give you the website. We're going to tell you where to go. You can look at all the credentials you want to do. But as Sophia says, she believes that, yes, you'll be able to be a welder. All right. So quick question to Janna. Real quick one, if you want to take this one. We talked about eligibility, and it comes up right here. Are civilians eligible for TA to use CA?
So no, but their GI Bill. If they have their GI Bill, they can use their GI Bills to pursue the credentials if they're civilians that are already out and they have the GI Bill. All
right, good. Thanks. Appreciate that. I hope that answered that question, Dom. Okay, awesome. Well, let's continue moving on. So I have a great question here for back to Janna. Tell me, where can I find the newly developed credential overview NCODP program that I will throw a plug in for you that you built? And what is included in the training package?
I have to say, I had a team with me. Jason Dodge was a beast. We built that together. But to find this at Army University, you're going to go to the Army University .edu website. That's basically the main Army U website, and it's on the homepage. When you look on the homepage, there's an Army U news basically feed underneath that. You'll scroll down, and you're going to see the label Credentialing Assistance Overview Brief. So again, that's the Army University.edu, Army University spelled out .edu. Scroll down on the homepage underneath Army U News, and then you're going to see it right there. And there is a lesson plan as well as a slide deck. So it's not going to be labeled NCO PD. Again, it's Credentialing Assistance Overview Brief, or it'll say Overview Brief and Lesson Plan.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. So I just had a question pop up, and I'll throw it out there to whoever wants to take this one, and boom. So this one comes from Rafael Ortiz, and he asks, is credentialing assistance money the same money as TA money?
Sophia.
Okay. Right. So I would say yes, it's the same type of funds, right? It's just processed a little differently. So you still have the same amount, the $4,000 per fiscal year, to use it towards tuition assistance or credentialing assistance. So yes, so when you're using it and you also want to use TA, you have to be really careful and cognizant of how much you're actually spending.
All right, great.
Yeah, if I can jump on that,
Sure. Go right ahead.
Again, exactly what she said, and this is so important to understand. So if you use it, some people want to jump back and forth, which I think is awesome. So if you want to take a couple college courses and then, hey, I really like this, no, I want to do the credential for it. The money that you use for one also goes towards the other. So it's $4,000 together. Does that make sense? So hopefully they got that. Hopefully we answered that.
Yeah, I think you did. And there's another question that popped up real quickly in reference to the same thing. And I think from what I read the question, I think you've already answered it, because it's asking, does TA still cover credentialing if a soldier is maxed out on civilian education funding due to a master's degree?
So as far as, if you've already completed all of your degrees, your certificates, everything that you have available to you, yes, credentialing assistance can still fund courses that will lead you to a credential or the actual credential itself. So yes, even if you're maxed out, you can still use it.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. All right, well, since Sophia is on the mic, I'm going to go ahead and ask her the next question. Sophia, can you please tell us the difference between the Army Credentialing Assistance Program and Army Cool, since some are confused about the two?
Right. Thank you. Great question. So yes, there's a big difference between the two. And a lot of people get them confused. It's not the Army Cool program. It is the Army Credentialing Assistance program. So when you think of Army Cool, that's basically a repository for all of the credentials that soldiers can pursue. So if you're, so if you go there and you see, all the credentials, yeah, that's what it's there for. It has all of the credentials that are aligned to some soldier's MOS or an MOS of some sort, right? However, none of the funding or processing goes through Army Cool. So if you want funding or you want to request something, that is the Army Credentialing Assistance program, right? So you're going to request those funds through Go Army Ed. That is the way soldiers request funding. They go through Go Army Ed for anything related to credentialing assistance. So there's a big difference there. One's a repository, the other one's where they fund the requests.
All right, great, thanks. All right, we're gonna go out to the audience. Someone has a question. I'm gonna pop it up here. Joel De La Rosa asked the question, can we come out of pocket to cover what CA doesn't cover for a certification? For example, and you can read it there for yourself. Can they cover the additional out of the pocket if the CA doesn't cover it?
So that's a good question as well. And I will tell you, this one depends, right? So if you're looking for the training that happens to be $7,000 with all the materials and so forth, yeah, that can be broken up into, we pay $4,000, you come out of pocket the rest of the money. However, if this is something like an exam and it's just the exam, then that's a different story. We may not be able to fund or break it up into parts. And that's just kind of how the way the system is going to be built.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So Joel, I think your question was answered by the experts. So great, thank you. All right, since Sophia's got the mic still, I'm going to ask her for the next question. I'm going to actually bring up her slide too to help her answer. What will a soldier see when initially logging on to the Army Cool?
Thank you. So if you go to the Army Cool website, the first thing you're going to see is this page right here. And I put a lot of arrows in there because I want you to understand where or how to navigate this page. Up top, you see where it says which credentials align with my MOS. If you want to find out something that might align with your MOS, you're interested in those types of credentials, then you can select any one of those, enlisted, warrant officer, whichever one applies to you, right? Or maybe you like someone else's MOS and you really want to find out what aligns to their MOS, you can click right there. If you have no idea how to use Army Cool, in the middle you'll see where it says don't know how to use Army Cool. That's the tab you select, and it'll give you all of the instructions on how to navigate Army Cool. Down at the very bottom, you see the black line that has credentialing assistance, DOL job families, and then it has the full credential search. If you happen to know what credential you want to pursue, you would select full credential search and it'll take you to the page where you can find those credentials. But if you want information on the Credentialing Assistance program, you're going to select the Credentialing Assistance tab. So if you can go to the next slide, I think.
Yep.
So when you if you clicked on the Credentialing Assistance tab, it's going to bring you to the Army Credentialing Assistance Program page, where all the information you need to know about the Credentialing Assistance Program will be right here, to include the policies. It also, say you want to go to the Ed Center, you want some information, you want some guidance, help. There's a link right there that'll take you to all the Ed Centers within Go Army Ed or to find whatever location you're looking for. Also, on the kind of in the middle at the very bottom, it says learn how to apply. On this page right here, there's step-by-step instructions on how to apply for credentialing assistance from the very beginning all the way through submitting it through Go Army Ed, okay? It also provides you the link of all the approved vendors that participate in the Credentialing Assistance Program. Now, I want to stress that one specifically because people say, well, I see it in Army Cool, so it's got to be approved. Well, within Army Cool, there are credentialing agencies, but those aren't necessarily vendors that are approved to participate in the Credentialing Assistance Program. So if you go to this list, you will see all of the participating vendors that are currently, helping out in the Credentialing Assistance Program. Now, if you don't see somebody here, that doesn't mean you can't ask for somebody else, But eventually, if you submit that request and it's a vendor that's not on this list, we will send out an application to that vendor. We'll ask them to participate. If they agree to all our terms, we will place them on that list. And now you just offered a new vendor for another soldier to pursue, to work with. So I think that's answering your question, right?
Yes, absolutely. That was perfect. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go to the audience real quick. I have a question from Staff Sergeant Lynn, all the way out in Tampa, Florida. I know her because she's an MP and she's at the university out there. But her question is, and her dream is to be a paramedic and an EMT. Does this help or fully pay for it?
So I guess I'll take that one. It depends, right? Is it in Army Corps? Yes, it is. I mean, I know those are specifically in Army Corps. So yes, that is something that you can pursue. And depending on where you go, you know, you've got $4,000 per fiscal year to pursue that specific credential or certification, right? You can use, and I will tell you, the vendors, when I say vendors, that could be a college, a university, a business, a mom and pop shop outside the gate. Somebody that provides that specific training that will lead you to that certification, yes, you can pursue it.
Okay. And speaking of vendors, we have a question from Hannah McGillick saying, what is the process like for a vendor to get on the Army's Credentialing Assistance approved vendor list?
Great question. So the process, again, if you went to Army Cool, there is a little, all the way up at the top, there's a button that says, I think it's like a, dang, what is it? Menu. It's the menu. Once you click on that and you click on Contact Us, down at the bottom, it'll actually tell you how to become a vendor. It gives you all the steps, takes you right to the page where you can get the application and submit to become a vendor. There are some things that you will have to do. You will have to get a cage code. You will have to have your finance tax ID, that kind of stuff. You have to agree to our terms to be able to participate in the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. And you do have to have training that will lead to a credential within Army Corps.
All right. Awesome. That's a great answer to the audience. Thank you so much. All right. Now going real quick back to the slides. Mm-hmm. There's a slide that I want to pull up, and this is for you, Sophia. How do they find the credentials that they're looking for?
Another great question. So there's a couple of ways you can find them in Army Corps. So you can see the top arrow where it says search. If you click on that little magnifying glass, you can type in, you know, I already know I want to do PMP. I can type in PMP and it'll pull up and it'll take you to that page. The other way is in the middle, you see that other arrow that says search. You type it in. Now, currently that specific search button, it's really slow. It's really slow. But our team is actually fixing that. So as next month, that button right there will be fixed to where it'll be a lot faster and pull up anything that you're requesting instead of having to go to the search bar. So that's how you would, you know, find those specific, the credential that you're looking for. And then once you do, you'll see there's a list. Currently, you see all of those. That's an actual current list of credentials, like 1,640. But you'll see the ones that you can select from. And that's all for that slide.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to bring up a question that I think for a lot of junior NCOs, squad leader, team leader, platoon sergeant, this is a great question coming from Sarah. And a few of you know her. Her question is, if a soldier is not entitled to TA due to a GPA falling below 2.5, will that affect financial assistance for credentialing assistance also?
So as far as the GPA hold, that is not going to affect your ability to pursue credentialing assistance. So, and actually it can help. If, let's just say you wanted to pursue something and you wanted to go to a college, a community college or something that had let's just go back to the EMT. That EMT course happens to have credit-bearing courses, and you might take those with credentialing assistance. And you know, you get great grades, and then it takes you off this GPA hold. So it's a win-win on that part. But on the flip side, if you kind of get bad grades, you're gonna go in that GPA hold. So do good. But yes, you can definitely use it for even if you're on a GPA hold. Okay,
great. Thank you. So now I have a retiree out there who brought up a great question. He just retired last year, but this is really good information for those from Ryan Moreno, for those folks that are still in the Army. Would the program cover PMP or Lean Six Sigma training and certification for the force? Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, again, these are all Sophia's questions. I love to answer these.
Okay.
Because the answer, and only because she shared this with me for when I go out and do my speeches. Absolutely, they are covered, and those are great programs to take, brother. So thank you for bringing them both up. There's so many great ones out there, but I will tell you, these are two that Sophia and I constantly talk about being great for when they get out. Thank you for bringing them both right, and completely agree.
Okay, and for Teresa, I think this one might be in your lane. Everybody knows Mark the Hurricane Halliburton. He asked, what is more favored, certifications or education, is basically what he got to it.
Yeah, so that's a great question, brother. And I'd like to say it depends on what you want to do, right? So I always tell people, they say, which one should I go for, a degree or a credential? And I'll tell you, take the or out of it and use the power of the and. I think you look at doing both, and then that way they can actually complement one another, right? I tell you, the only reason I stay in education is that is my weak area. I continue to challenge myself, so I stay in college, right? I'm not the smart kid, so I need all the help I can get. So do what you're comfortable with, but then step out of that comfort zone and go do the other side of it. It's great to have both out there to where you can do I'm a hands-on person, and I like doing this, as the brothers talked about, the PMP. You got human resources out there, the Lean Sigma 6. They're all great credentials. Take that and then free your brain up and jump right back into school. So if you ask me which one's better, I think they're both amazing, and you should use them to complement each other, and also to give that brain power a little time to adjust and relax on doing one and then the other.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And I think from a leader perspective, when we sit there and talk to our soldiers and try to explain to them, you can, just like you said, and or, right? So you can do one or the other, or do both.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to go to college, right? Some people just want to do X. And so this credentialing assistance program allows that to happen. So thank you so much for that answer.
I'm also going to see, you got me on a stinking soapbox for a minute.
Go ahead.
Also, just depending on the job you want to do, obviously some of them want the degree, so you'll have to do that. Other ones, like the HVAC, they just want you to have that credential. So it also depends on what you want to do, and your mind might change. But again, you still have both assets, which is probably the best part of the whole thing.
Yep. Nope. Great. That's awesome. Thank you. All right. Real quick, I'm going to take a quick pause to deviate from the thing. I do have to do a quick shout out. So I just pulled it up on the screen. So Staff Sergeant Hicks is an SGL out in Fort Lee, Virginia, and he is the owner of NCO PD Live. He has a huge following. He's following us tonight. And I know I talked to Janna a little bit earlier, but he wants you all on, open invitation to come on NCO PD Live. And I know that it's a great platform, a lot bigger than this one, obviously, because he's been doing it for a while. But he's a great NCO out there in Fort Lee. So Staff Sergeant Hicks, thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for sharing this platform onto your platform. So thank you very much. So, all right. So I'm going to go real quick to another question from Ken Saxton. How are credentials aligned with the MOS is determined? There are many that don't seem to match well. For example, PMP. Wow. What do you want to take that one?
Sophia, you want to attack it first? You want me to attack it, sis?
So, I mean, you can attack it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go.
I think you got to look at PMP, because ironically, I would like to disagree with you just a hair on that one. Please, if you go look at the testing right now, it's actually on people, management, and the environment that you have. So don't let the word management confuse you a little bit, because ironically, it ties in very well. Projects, that's us doing missions. So when you go take a look at it, and it ties in very well with, ironically, leadership. So maybe not, that one's not a MOS specific, but there definitely is MOS specific out there. And I will give you a site and then turn it over to Sophia. You can go on ONET, and then there's a little asterisk there, but don't put it there, and then net. And what this is this is the Department of Labor is allowing you to, or actually put it in a system to allow us to crosswalk our MOSs with credentials, with civilian jobs that are out there, as well as our skillage, knowledge, and attributes. So it kind of helps us later on write our resumes. So if you go on there, go on ONET, and it's about the middle of the page to the right, you'll see crosswalk. Click on that, and then go in your MOS. It'll tell you jobs and credentials that align with the Department of Labor recognized credentials. Please, sis.
Hey, you had it right on the head. So the only thing I'll add to that is, I mean, the proponents are the ones that align the actual, these credentials to the MOS. So that's really all I had to add to that.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I have a dear friend of mine. He was here on Fort Leonard Wood. Teresa, you probably know him, but it's Norris Johnson. He's out in Italy, and he's education service officer out there. And he asked, can credentialing assistants support a soldier in getting a credential before they enter the CSP?
So, Teresa, you want to get that, or you want me to?
I'm good with you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, of course, CA does not fund CSP programs. However, those programs still can exist, and if there's a credential that comes out of that, or an exam that needs to be taken, CA can fund that exam.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get back into the questions, because we've been talking about the cool website and all the number of credentials, and I'm starting to see a lot of repetitive questions about people asking, what kind of credentials can I get? So, Teresa, can you tell me how many credentials are there on the cool website?
Yeah, this is a great question, and thank you, Sophia, for giving it to me right before we came on here. So it's literally over 1,600 credentials, and just as she kind of talked about earlier, they're constantly fluctuating, so they go up and down based on the vendors when they jump out or jump in the picture. So, but ironically, it's probably been above 1,600 for about a year now, and again, just people coming in and out. But 1,640, I think, is something that she gave me today. So again, please. And I would like to highlight something she said earlier. They can only work so hard on these credentials. If the soldiers go out there and find a great credential, please bring it to us. If they are a vendor, bring it to us, because again, they're all about putting them in there. The more we can get out there, the more options soldiers have, and that's important.
Oh, no, that's great. Yep. Thank you. And now in line with the Army Cool website, Jen, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. When we're looking at the credential in Cool, can you explain to what the different icons mean? And I'll pull up a slide to help you talk that through.
Thank you. It's hard for me to see from that screen, so audience, bear with me, because I'm going to look down so I can actually see the slide and each of the icons as I'm speaking them. The best thing you want to know about these icons are when you go into Army Cool, all you have to do is hover over them. So if you don't remember it from this discussion, go in Army Cool, hover over it, and it's going to give the definition for you. But just to quickly highlight these icons, that chili pepper right there, that's to kind of show you through the Department of Labor some of the all the credentials that they have assessed that are basically frequently looked at as jobs that are searched online. For the most, some, and other, these are credentials that are major duties associated within or aligned with your MOS. And it just kind of tells you that most, some, and other. The star with the money sign, you may use CA credential. That it's pretty gimme. You can use credentialing assistance for it if you see that icon. For the high, medium, and low, this is just to identify the level of ease to achieve that credential. Moving over to the next column, the rank, the staff sergeant rank, talks about credential is worth promotion points. It's kind of verbatim, that's what it is. Then you have your skill level associated, which is what I talked about earlier. It could be that skill level 1, skill level 2, skill level 3. It talks based off of what your experience, your MOS experiences are. The next one, the gold star, or the gold with the white star in the center of it, that's your MOS enhancing credential. And then the one that actually has the star with an M, that's the mandatory credential that we talked about with that initial slide. Moving down one more, the credential can be earned in the institution. Again, that very first slide that we showed that broke them down, mandatory, institutional, and then we have the self-development. Those are just icons that are helping you depict what type of credential that is. A credential is GI Bill eligible, where we had the conversation that maybe after the military you have GI Bill funds available and you want to continue to pursue credentials, you can do that. Or maybe you just ran out of CA and you have GI Bill and you want to use it, then you can do that. And then, of course, the credential is accredited, and that's accredited by the NCCA.
All right. Awesome. Wow. That's a lot of information, but obviously this is all in your NCO PD packet that's on the website, that the NCOs that are on this net, they can go on there, and we'll let you pitch it, the website again at the end, but you'll be able to tell us where to get this slide deck from. So thank you very much for that.
Real quick, brother, I want to hit can you go back to the slide again? I'm sorry.
I can. No, it's okay.
So something that she talked about that I want to dive on a little bit. So to also answer Ken Saxton's question and to caveat what Sophia said. So there are credentials that soldiers can get while they're in their PME. So while they're in the NCO PDS, and that's why the one with the star and the one with the, as she said, with the thing underneath it, they can actually earn some of those credentials, and the how the credentials relate to your MOS. If it's other, then that means you're going to have to use your credentialing assistance. However, those some and most are actually paid by through TRADOC for institutional, because what it's saying is that the credentialing training is actually done during their POIs. And so then it may be that they just have to take a test afterwards, or they have to be able to show that they've done some more of the OJT, the hands-on portion of it. So again, it's just another way of getting the credentials out there, and it's aligned based off of what the proponents say they are.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for that extra explanation on that. I appreciate that. All right, I want to go to a quick question from the field, and I'll let you read it. Bottom line is from Dawn Shields. She's asking if the education counselors are equipped with this knowledge. How would they be able to point them in the right direction?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the first step, and then I'll let Sophia jump on. Hey, the biggest thing, and this is so important about this, and this is probably something we should have mentioned up front. This credentialing assistance is brand new. The reason I always go to Sophia, because she works with it day in and day out. She gets to deal with soldiers' problems day in and day out, right? And it's really tied. And so when we talk about the education counselors, because it's so new, some of them out there, because as you know, we kind of rolled it out in phases. We took the most experienced counselors and the bigger installations where they had more counselors attached to them, so they could actually take a few of those and focus on the credentialing assistance. So there's some out there that are working very well, but hey, don't get upset with the ones that don't have it. They're getting the training that they need. They're working on it and they're working through it. So you do have ones that are maybe a little bit better, but that's because it came to them first, those education centers. So hey, they're gonna get it. They're gonna help you, and if they don't know it, they're gonna find out. But they're doing phenomenal for what they're doing so far, and I definitely want to give them a shout out for putting this out there, because they're doing the best they can with what they know so far, if that makes sense. As we all know, you learn mostly through error or through new questions. And that's what we're working through. And that's probably how Sophia gets most of her information, is working for the issues that we run into. Sophia, please.
Yeah, you stole my thunder, man.
Oh, son of a Duncan.
I was going to say, these counselors out there are awesome. They are doing everything they can to learn and learn. I mean, they just keep digging and digging and digging and try to find out more so that they can get out there and help more soldiers. So yeah, I totally agree. It's still a new program. People are still learning, but the counselors are just eager to help you. So please send your soldiers there so they can check out or get some more information and guidance from them.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for answering her question. All right, so we have a big question that came up, and I'm not going to try to read it all and show off my Texas reading skills, but if you want to take a quick read at that, and while you're reading that, I'm going to quickly highlight, yes, everybody, we forgot to mention it up front. The actual Army Credentialing Assistance Program wasn't released to the full Army until just this past January. It was trial-based at certain locations, obviously met with great success because we wouldn't be here if it didn't. And so we're only talking, 3-4 months old that this program is out there. So you're getting fresh, hot off the press, current information from the experts who do this every day, from Sophia to Teresa Duncan, of course, Janna Escude. So that's why we wanted to do this broadcast, because we knew that it was going to be a topic. And me being a big education person, this is what I love to do, is talk about how to better make our soldiers, because everybody's going to get out of the Army, whether it's after 4 years or whether it's after 32 years. We are all going to hang up the jacket, and we have to have something to fall back on, whether it's a degree from somewhere in a particular area that we want to do, or maybe somebody just wants to be a barber, or maybe someone just wants to be that air condition repair person. We have now in the Army have it all, and it's because of this program. So anyway, I'll step off my soapbox for a second, and I'm going to ask, who wants to tackle this great question from Bo Sally?
So go ahead.
I'll take the second part, Sophia.
Okay, sure. So should skill part be considered for a credential? Absolutely. And the counselors will tell you as well. And I don't know if you saw earlier what the Fort Irwin Education Center put up there, but you know, skill part is free. I'm not going to say it's always the most updated with some of the credentials, but it does provide quite a bit of free training that will help you get to that credential, and free, absolutely. So that means if you are working on your degree, you're working on something else, and you really need to penny pinch for your fiscal year, that is a great way to get the training. And then when you're ready to take that exam, you use your CA funds to fund that exam, but save the rest of your money by using the training within Skillport. Okay, and so I'll let Janna answer the second part, but I do want to come back to that as well.
You know, Bo, there seems to be a little bit of confusion in regards to the credential not aligning with the MOS alignment. If you go into Army Cool, you can compete for the Lean Six Sigma. It's not based off of your MOS. The icons in there are to kind of help you associate if they are mandatory based off of your MOS, if they are ones that you can get institutionally, but that does not mean that you cannot take that particular credential because those are there. That's not what it means. So please know that if you want to you want to go in and request to be able to take that credential, you are eligible to take it.
Hey, and I'm gonna hit both of those real quick. Both great questions, both of them. And I'm sorry, Sophia, I'll let you jump back in. But hey, real quick with the skill port. You know, one thing that I did when I was looking for the PMP, because I was gonna do that at one point in time, and realized you can't do a doctorate degree and PMP at the same time. That would have been a killer for my one brain cell. But what I will tell you, brother, is what I did was I went on the PMP website, looked at their study material, and then I went into Skillport and found the exact same material. And like she said, it's FREE, which is amazing. So that's kind of how I looked at what use Skillport, but always go to the credentialing site to see what books they're using and then find them in Skillport. And then next, and I'm sure this is what Sophia, not to steal from me, because I'm sure you're going to say it as well. Lean Six Sigma does relate to leadership. It does. It really does. And so we got to remember MOS alignment. It is going to help you in the Army, because as we continue to progress, hopefully everyone, if not already a leader, is going to be a leader. And that's why I would say, yes, go for it. And it will look good for you, just because, or just like there's actually on your SRB now, there's a thing where it talks about the degrees, and right under there, it talks about credentials. And again, they just want to know that you're continuing your self-development. The credential degree, you're going to get points for both if you're looking for points, but you're also going to get that justification for the board members. Sister, sir.
No, I mean, that was great. And I will tell you, you know, I was an MP, and I actually did Lean Six Sigma, both green belt and black belt. And I will never look at a process the same way. Anybody who's done Lean Six Sigma understands that you're looking at efficiencies everywhere, all the time, no matter, even if you're going through McDonald's, the McDonald's drive-through. It's definitely an enhancing type of credential, and you know, that will definitely be something that could set you apart from your peers.
All right, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think that answered the question for that long one for sure. So real quick, it's not a question, but I do want to throw up. So we got a retired command. Well, first off, let me say this. Big shout out. we have the one and only watching in the back, the former SEAC, John Wayne Troxel is watching. So Sergeant Major, thanks for joining the podcast tonight and talking. So if you have a question for us, hit us up, but thanks so much for joining us. So anyway, back to the thing. So this is why we do what we do right there. Rick Morris, Command Sergeant Major, retired, talking about getting out there and spend some time with our soldiers and teach and educate them. And this is one of many platforms. This is not the platform. It's one of many platforms that we can use to educate our soldiers on the things that are going on out there. So, okay, great. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. All right, I have another question from the field before I get to Sophia on another question about horror stories. But Drill Sergeant Little asked right there, which one carries more weight? And I think we talked about it a little bit already, but this is a young NCO, right, who's up and coming. And I think it'd be great for Teresa, if you can hit this one again from a senior Command Sergeant Major perspective. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think from inside the military, I would tell you they both weigh heavily. Again, what we're looking for, and this is just, I sat on a few boards, and the one thing I looked at is you always look at a PT education, and there was one other one. The actually before it was courses that you have the credentialing. But you're looking for that self-development. What are you doing as a leader to not stay comfortable? What are you doing to progress yourself? Because again, all this awesome education, credentialing, everything out there, as long as you're doing it, brother, that's what counts. That's what we want to see. How you improve yourself is a little less important, and more important is that you're doing it. So again, getting the credential, getting the degree. And again, I would suggest doing both, because that makes you even look like more of a star. So when you talk about inside the military, which one weighs more? Get after both. That would weigh the most.
You're muted, Sergeant Major.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So these are not questions, but we're getting some of the education centers out there out in the, so we got Fort Riley said they are prepared for credentialing assistance. I have another one. Fort Campbell education is well versed. They are ready to take on any soldier that comes in.
Yes, they are.
Miss Castillo or Familia Castillo, Fort Bragg is ready to help our student warriors with credentialing assistance. So all you out there that are watching this, that are at an education center, all the way from Fort Bragg to Mr. Norris Johnson out in Italy, this is where it's at. And you guys are standing right at the door to take our soldiers in and teach them everything there is about credentialing assistance. So thank you for what you do to all those folks out there. So
goosebumps.
Oh, that is awesome to have all those education centers coming up. And I'm sure there's more. I'm just missing them because there are a ton of questions. So, but before I get to another online question, I want to ask Sophia a question about horror stories, because me being a senior sergeant major, I have already heard through some of the rumor mill that there are, because I call it rumor until it's true, right? That some horror stories about packets taking forever to get approved. What are some of the things that may hold up a processing for these packets and or the request from the soldier?
Oh, that's a great question. I was waiting for that from somebody. Somebody was going to ask the question, what about my packet? Okay, I will tell you, the situation can be different for each packet, right? This is not tuition assistance. It's not the same. And kind of backing up a little bit, we talked about the limited user test just a smidge, but the limited user test took place at Fort Hood, Texas, and then also at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I tell you, we started with the Sergeant Major of the Army said, we want this to happen. We made it happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't have all the resources. So yes, this is a manual process currently. Okay. But I tell you, Hood and Campbell, they led the way, and they got, we worked until we got the packet a little bit easier, just a little easier than what it was when they first started off. So, I mean, I definitely give kudos to all the Fort Hood, Fort Campbell education centers, because they really did great. Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave out the National Guard, because those guys and the reserves are awesome as well. They've been definitely helpful. So getting back to this horrible process, right? So again, situations can be different. One packet could take a few minutes, the other packet could take a few months. It just depends. Sometimes when soldiers submit a packet less than 30 business days, or not necessarily the soldier, but it's submitted less than 30 business days, that'll automatically get it kicked back. It's in the CA policy and the SOU that soldiers sign, that these packets have to be submitted 30 business days prior to the start date. We have to kick them back, right? Because we can't just keep going back and forth. We got over 2,000, and we've already had over 2,000 requests, right? So the process is not that horrible. However, as we get them, it takes time. Some vendors might not want to play. It could be the vendor is not an approved vendor. And so it takes them a while to get back to us. Sometimes they get back to us, sometimes they don't. And then we have to go back and say, look, we got to close this case. Again, I said this is a manual process, right? So sometimes there's a ton of cases coming in. We work on the cases that are near term first, and then we get to those others. So if your packet went in and it was 3 months early, it might be like 2 months before we actually talk to you, because your start date is not till then. We want to work on all the soldiers' cases that come up first, right? So I know it kind of sucks sometimes to hear that, my packet got kicked back. Well, I'm sorry, but we're working it. And eventually when this process, we get our new system running, things are going to be a lot different and a lot faster. But we did, and I'm just throwing this out there, we did start with no resources, and we're still making things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when the SMA dreamt this up and said, hey, execute, and there was nothing. And now look at where we're at. So pretty amazing. So one of the things that there's been a few questions that have been asked, and I knew that there was going to be an opportunity for us to do it. And here's a perfect one. So Amy posted a question, or really a comment. COVID-19, everything on the installation is shut down. Gyms, everything, including our ed centers. And here we have someone out there saying, hey, our education centers are open. They're just open virtually. So she's telling everybody watching, go on to Go Army Ed and get on the help desk and go through the education centers. Go ahead, Teresa.
Just real quick, just your tracking. So Amy Morash MCOM. She is the one that sent this out to the ed centers. So she is the one that got this news out for us. So again, thank you, Amy, and thank you for putting that up, because I had gotten some of the phone calls saying, hey, how do we do credentialing? How do we do tuition assistance right now? The ed centers aren't open. And she came through and they actually put it out on the S1 net. And then again, she got it all out for these guys to be joining us tonight. So it's just rocking across the board. And if anyone is concerned about their packets, hey, let there be no doubt in your mind, these teams want to make this happen for you. And they're passionate about what they do. Again, it gives me goosebumps when I talk about it. So just find them and get out and stay after them. Don't expect things to come to you. Stay after them and get your stuff through. It will happen. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Thanks. And we have a ton of education centers chiming in. Here's another one from Fort Huachuca. So awesome. Okay. All right. So let me move on real quick. So I have a slide that I want to pull up, and Sophia, I'm going to ask you for this one. If you can kind of talk us through, how do we know that these credentials are the real deal and that they are going to count for anything professionally, both in and out of the military? And let me pop this screen up real quick. And there you go. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is actually talking about credentialing eligibility. Stand by. Let me get back to you just for a second. I got to plug in.
Okay, no problem.
Whoops. Almost forgot about plugging in my computer.
Yeah, we would not want you to drop off. You are the star of the show tonight.
Let me use this. I'll talk about this real quick, and I'll get to your question about the real deal, right? So this is a very important page. Earlier, I talked about, hey, once you search for your credential, then you select a specific credential, it'll take you to a page like this, right? And then up top, the first arrow you see, that is the credentialing agency. And that's very important to know. So if you're trying to pursue something, let's just say you're a private, right? You're 19 years old and you wanted to pursue even this one, right? Or PMP. there's some eligibility criteria you have to have prior to being able to do this. So even if you took training to pursue the specific credential, it might be years before you could ever test for that credential. So you always want to come here, look at the eligibility criteria that you can see right there. And that black line kind of in the middle, it talks about whether something aligns to someone's, what MOSs it aligns to, what civilian occupation it aligns to. And then there's the criteria, right? The experience. Some of these are not waiverable. You must meet this criteria before ever, being able to pursue this specific credential. So my suggestion is always go to the page, look at the eligibility criteria, contact the credentialing agency because we're gonna ask for proof, right? That's one of the things. You have to upload your proof that you're eligible for this credential. You go to that credentialing agency, they'll tell you what you are qualified, or if you're qualified for this specific credential. So this is why this is extremely important that you go here before when you're looking to pursue something, see what you need first and how close you'll be after you take the course to get to this credential. So to get back to your question, James, again, we talked about, the real deal and these credentials being, counting for something professionally, both in and out of the military. The proponents are the ones that validate these enhancing and those credentials are related or aligned to a soldier's MOS. These are credentials that are known to enhance your knowledge, your skills, your abilities as a soldier throughout your entire life cycle, right? With the CA program, all of these credentials that are in here that are available, even though are aligned to an MOS, they don't necessarily you don't have to pursue something that is aligned to an MOS, right? We allow you to pursue whatever you want that might actually help you or be beneficial to you while you're in the military or even while you're out of the military, right? So for example, a National Guard soldier who is his job in the military is actually 11 Bravo, but his civilian occupation is HR. So now he can look for something that might help him in his civilian career. Let's look at something like the SHRM. Let's look at something like APHR. Those kind of things. Those types of things that relate to a civilian occupation. This CA program is unlike anything else, right? It's not to be confused with the skill bridge or CSP transition type of program. This is actually a retention program, right? So this is to help you throughout the entire your entire military life cycle. All right. So I think I answered your question.
Yep. No, I think you nailed it right on. Go ahead, Teresa.
Hey, probably the most ultimate thing about credentialing is the fact that it continues on. We always talk about this mind growth and about continuing your self-development. And Sophia, you mentioned that, which is just phenomenal. Because with credentialing, it's not something you go get and then it's done, right? So you have to continue to go back and get it redone. And to answer that question before it comes up, while you're in the military will pay for those follow-ons that you have to do. But what I appreciate about that is because they want you to continue. So don't go get this medical certificate and not stay up with it, right? You got to continue to go back and get it reassessed. And Sophia, you can jump on that as well. But I think that's a great point. That's probably the best thing I like about the credentials, sister.
Oh, nope, you're good. You got it.
All right, awesome. Well, we're going to go to the audience and they have a question from, I believe, Ray, SAR Major Academy student out at USAMS, discussing about, is there any talk about increasing it to 4,500 a year like the other services?
Yeah, great question. And understand the reason that it had went down for a little bit is because we kept running out, and the goal obviously is to give you that 100% because that's the main thing. So at some point there was a control thing going on there, but yes, it is being looked at. I mean, and between MCOM and the access team there at Fort Knox there, I mean, they're nailing this together, and this is one thing that's going to happen. It will most likely go up to 4,500. If I had to guess through the silver glass there, it would be hopefully within the next year or two, we'll go back to 4,500. Okay. Unless you want to jump on, but I think that's good.
Nope. I'm gonna let you handle that one. That
So it's coming. The
It's
4,500 is coming.
in the writing, it's just going through the processes now. It's got to go through the legals and and of course, believe it or not, it does go up to DOD because they do look at the money and how we spend it and how it's working, and that's what they're doing now.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward. I learned something new today. 4,500 is coming, so that's great. Okay, so Teresa, since you had the mic, I want to ask you a quick question. I'm a leader. You're a leader. Lots of leaders on tonight. What type of credentials could we as leaders that kind of align with leadership? What are some of them that we can do?
Hey, great question, and thank you, brother, for asking. Ironically, there's a lot of human resources ones out there. We always assume that human resources means personnel, but ironically, in the civilian world, it takes on so much more. It's about the staffing, it's about processes, it's about understanding the whole piece. So I think any HR one, I think the Lean Sigma 6, it's about accomplishing missions, and that's what we do. Project management, it's about the whole thought process through it. And ironically, I think it's so important because even though we have our leader development courses in the military, it's great to get the outer perspectives on how the civilian world thinks of them as well. For the very simple fact is when we look at chaos, and we're dealing with this right now, we spend chaos in other countries, and there's always that time to where we have to think about how do we help the civilians out. And so it's great to know their processes as well, so we can put them together if it makes sense. So there's so many out there. Don't think because it doesn't have the word leadership on there that it doesn't assist you be a leader in the Army and as you get out. Hopefully that answers the question.
All right. Awesome. No, that's great. And real quick, Janna, you've been quiet. I got a question for you. So why are credentials important to us and to our soldiers?
So I'm telling you, I knew this question was coming, and Sophia kind of stole my thunder in regards to it. She laid a lot of stuff out. But if I could, to add on to that, I know I missed some with the NCO PD overview. Would you pop up slide 3 and 4 again, Sergeant Major?
Sure. Give me just a second. And
I mean, and as far as like while you're pulling that up, as far as them being important to me, important to my soldiers, I'll tell you, coming in the military, one of the reasons why I came into the military is because I was anti-going to college, which obviously throughout my 20 years that's changed, and I'm always continuing to pursue my education too. But one of the big reasons why I will tell you this is important to me is I really wish that this had been an opportunity for me as a younger soldier, because now I'm so focused on, my college degree, and I'm almost done with my military profession that I feel like I just missed this great opportunity of being able to enhance myself to the civilian world even more by being able to take credentials. I'm almost out of time to do it. Not quite, but I'm almost out of time. And I mean, where NCOs are concerned, now's the prime time for them to talk to their soldiers about getting these credentials, whether they follow a degree and then continue it up with credentials, or if they just don't want to do college at all and they want to go the credential route. I mean, the sky's the limit. Both of these programs, TA, CA, being able to get TA, being able to get CA is just awesome for self-development. And again, for your desires, what do you want to do when you get out? But I did want to come back to the NCO PD. Go back to that first screen, Sergeant Major, the one right before this one. Okay, so in a nutshell, when you see this, again, we talked about the lesson plans, and then we talked about the slides. And that's kind of to show the example of what it's going to look like. And then the next slide, Sergeant Major. One of the great things about this NCO PD is we give examples, because sometimes it can still be a bit confusing when talking about credentialing. So we've literally laid out a ton of examples throughout it to help if you're a soldier that is just interested in doing something fun and you find it in there. If you're a soldier that you've already done that through per your MOS and you want to continue the same type of thing on the civilian side, there's so many different examples, and I would just encourage leaders and their soldiers to go through so they kind of get that feel. Does this apply to them? Is this something that they want? It talks about the benefits, and we also do like that brief introduction as far as Army Cole and US maps. It will just help these NCOs as they want to teach it down to their soldiers. It's going to help them through it. And I got to give a shout out to 15th MP Brigade on this, because they helped us out with the pilot to making this NCO PD locked down, so that way any soldier, any NCO could pick it up and they can deliver it. So I would highly recommend that you go to the Army University EDU website, look under the Army News, and look for these products to use as NCO PDs later on when you're teaching soldier development.
No, that's awesome. And I want to give a quick shout out to Jay Dodge. There's been a ton of questions popping up on where to get this slide deck, and Jay Dodge posted the link to the website to where to get this NCO PD slide deck with all the notes on it. So just look in the comments section for Jay Dodge. He posted it in there, and that way you can find that stuff. So, okay. All right.
Additionally, with this slide deck, which we're working on it right now, with the pilot and also working with MCOM, we've developed a fact sheet. It's not posted yet, but it's almost done, and it's going to be posted with that lesson plan as well as with that slide deck. So that way, questions that soldiers have already had, we've answered them. So they can go on that in that same location, Army U EDU, and they're going to see it's going to say facts, and then they can scroll through there and see if those questions that they had, if the answer's already there.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm sure there's people already downloading it right now, but just so everybody know that the FAQ thing will come with it. So, okay, moving on real quick. I want Sophia, because I'm kind of excited about this. I've never heard about this before, and I want to know a little bit about it. So, Sophia, could you please tell us in the audience, how will the new system, Army Ignited, process the request, and how easy or hard is it going to be?
Ooh, I'm excited. So Army Ignited is the name, and it is going to eventually replace Go Army Ed. Now, Go Army Ed is not going to go away yet, but still we're going to use Army Ignited first with credentialing assistance, okay? We've been working really hard, and I mean like all of the team up in the Knox Access Army U. We've been working really hard to get this right so that when it goes out, you know, soldiers it'll be as easy as, hey, I want to get this credential, right? So I'm going to go in there just like with Amazon. I want to make sure I select PMP. And then as I select PMP, the list of providers come up. Oh, okay, I want to use this provider. Click that provider. Oh, the requirements for that specific provider are these books and this training. Bam, I click that. And then it goes to the bucket, and then it continues on. So, I mean, it is really going to be that simple. Don't worry, the ed centers are still going to be there for you to help coach you. If you need counseling or you're not sure about something, you're undecided, they're going to be there for you. But this system is going to be very, very easy for a soldier to not have to worry about filling out anything. You're just selecting things, and you're just like if you're shopping, really. So it's a great system. Really excited about it. We're going to be working out a lot of kinks. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect yet. We're going to start it off at one location and then slowly add new locations until full implementation Army-wide sometime in FY19, right? But because everyone's giving shout outs, I got to give a little shout out myself.
Please do.
So, of course, our team at Fort Knox has been busting their butts working on cases. I would tell you, we got the program manager from BSEP, right? APT, BSEP, Arena. She's out there busting her butt doing cases. Bree, she's the policy PM. She's out there busting her butt doing cases. My boss, Steve, who's actually helping with, he's helping with some of these questions. He's out there busting his butt doing some stuff as well, right? And of course, all of our, what'd you say?
I said, I love me some Steve, please.
Yeah, that's right. And then our systems team, everyone is putting their hands in the pot, just trying to help out with processing cases and stuff. So I really appreciate them. And my boss, Dr. Raymer, she's awesome. You know what? She helps, supports Colonel Rambo. He supports. We're all one great team, all of us, along with all the ed centers. We're a great team, and we're here to help all the soldiers. So in a nutshell, this is going to be a great system.
All right, awesome. I think I did see Rambo make a comment. I think he's on here watching, because I think I did see a comment on him. So, all right, great. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. I'm excited. I got to learn what Army Ignited is, and it is going to replace basically the Go Army one day, but it'll be just for credentialing now. So super excited. Okay, real quick, I want to go to the field real quick to the audience for a question. So Hurricane Halliburton asks, obviously some of the funding. Anybody want to take that question on?
Yeah, this is what I talked about earlier. I discussed this when you looked at summer much. This is exactly what I was talking about. So yes, the ALC and SLC, your proponents will align themselves with credentials, and then they show that to our team, and they will say whether it's some or much, and depending on how much that is, then TRADOC will fund that. If it's all they have to do is take a test, they'll actually get a voucher, and then they'll turn in that voucher and take the test. Once it may be that they need to take a test or that they need to do some OJT. So it's absolutely correct. Thanks, Mark, for bringing that back up. Because the most important thing about that is when you go to your courses, you have to volunteer for it. Because enlisted is not like the officers, it's not mandated. It's things that you have to, we can't mandate that soldiers or NCOs actually do these courses. So when you go in, hey, ask your ALC instructor, your commandant, which credentials are available to me by taking these courses, and they'll tell them, they'll get them through it. So absolutely, Mark, thanks for bringing that up.
All right, great. And there's Chuck Rambo on there giving a big shout out to his team, which is Sophia's on the net. And of course, the other folks that do so much great work behind the scenes to take care of our soldiers.
And just highlight his name, please, because he's a little bit of the Chuck Norris and the Rambo together. So, I mean, he's one of my favorite guys ever. He's got it all together, and the name just rocks it.
No one can take down Chuck Rambo. All right, awesome. Thanks, appreciate that. All right, real quick to Janna, I want to talk about something that a lot of people probably never heard of and don't know a lot of. And I'm going to pull up a slide to help you through it. But can you tell us what is US MAPS and how can a soldier find out if they're eligible to start logging hours?
Sure. US MAPS is the United States Military Apprenticeship Program. And this is basically seen by or led by Sean Morrissey, that's in the Access Department as well here at Fort Leavenworth. This is free to the soldier. When they go in to see, to kind of pick and see what's there for them, it has to align with their MOS. There's no way of getting away from that. And that's one of the big questions that we have. And basically it's something that they actually they pursue while they're on duty. They can have previous experience, current experience, and then upcoming experience. And basically, they'll go in there and they'll request it. They'll get a log sheet that's broken up by different categories. And with their supervisor, they go and they log the hours of things that they've either completed or currently completing, previous completed, currently completed. And like I said, then they watch for the things that they still need to complete. If they're able to complete it while they're active duty, then basically they take that, it's sent to the Department of Labor, validated from them, and then from there, labor certificate is generated, and that's something that they can use when they're competing for various jobs. And it's kind of got all the little bullets on there. It's a really good slide to depict that, and it's even got the website at the bottom, so they can go in and take a look to see if this is an opportunity that they're eligible for. And it's broken down. Like for me, military police, some of the things that it has in there is force protection, protective services. There's just like a couple different ones in there. So again, remember, it has to be based off your MOS. There might be something you want to do, like say I want to be a welder. Well, my MOS is not a welder, so I cannot go into US MAP and attempt to do that apprenticeship. It has to be something that's interlined with my MOS. And then if you'll flip to the next slide, Sergeant Major, please.
Sure.
We just wanted to give you an idea of when you've completed the program and you receive that DOL certificate, when you go to compete for that job and you're able to pass that certificate to your would-be employee, this kind of will show you, if you didn't have the certificate, what your worth is versus what your certificate is now that you actually, or versus what you're worth with the certificate, or give or take what you could potentially, I should say, potentially be worth.
Wow. Now that's a big pay raise just for having that DOL certificate. All right. Awesome.
If I can also
go ahead, please.
Okay. Hey, so again, we're always trying to look at what we can help soldiers with. I mean, this is just a constant, it's just a spin that just keeps going. And this is one of them. So this is actually something that's been used by the Navy for a long time because they have a lot more technical skills that they have. So with this program, just know we're just getting our stuff into it. So if you get on there and you don't see anything that aligns with your MOS, hey, wait a little bit, because these guys are still working and they work it. We have a team, and that's all they do is they're trying to get all this stuff in. Again, with the proponents, they see what aligns and then they put it in there. So just because it may not be there for the minute, continue to check back, because we're going to continue to update this like we do all the other programs.
No, that's awesome. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And really what that did, that slide took us to the end. We are out of Schlitz of questions. The questions on the comment bar have dried up. I will make a quick disclaimer to all those folks watching. If you submitted a question and we did not answer it live, I think we probably answered about 30 of them. But if we didn't, just know that the team with Master Sergeant Escude is going to get on there. They're going to find the question, get them answered, get them sent to you on your enterprise email, and get you the answers necessary. There's a lot of questions I didn't pop up because they were repetitive questions about, you know, can I use both TA and CA at the same time? And that question was asked earlier on in the video. So a lot of those questions were already asked or already discussed during the panel, so I didn't bring them up. But anyway, lots of great information out there. Watching the slides, I'm going to get the slides myself, and I'm going to post them onto the Breck Time Broadcast Facebook page, so that way they can hang there if you ever want to come back and find them, if you can't find them elsewhere. But before I go into my closing comments, I want to give the panel member any last opportunity to give anything else that they want to talk about, or any last shout outs or anything else like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Sophia, please.
So I thank you. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on here. This was definitely, pushing me out of my comfort zone. And so I actually appreciate the professional development that I'm gaining from this session alone. What I want to say is, why not, right? So why not take advantage of the benefits that can set you apart from your peers? If you're getting out, the person that's competing for the same job as you are, right? Why not do something that's going to enhance your skills, your knowledge, both in and out of the military? Why not continue to ensure you're relevant in the position that you're currently in? Okay, so I will tell you that I wished I had this opportunity when I was in the military. When I retired, I had a bachelor's degree, and I thought that was going to be good enough with all of my experience and my bachelor's degree. This is going to be good enough. But it wasn't, and I had to go back to school, and I had to learn more stuff. I had to continue to professionally develop myself so I could be competitive out there as well as being while I was in the military, right? So don't make excuses of why you can't do something, right? Just think about how you can do this, how you can take advantage of these benefits you're being offered. So set yourself up for success, both while you're in and have a plan for when you get out. Thank you, Sergeant Major.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And to Janna, please.
Sergeant Major, I want to follow on with a thank you for inviting us, but for me personally, because this has just been amazing. On the NCO side of the house, I would encourage the NCOs to take advantage of this mass amount of information that we gave them, and do what the whole reason why they became NCOs: share the wealth, encourage their soldiers to continue to educate, to self-development, to grow professionally, but to remember their self-desires as well. And that's where I feel like with credentialing, you kind of still given that opportunity to reach out and get, your self-desire, everything outside of the military. You might love what you do in the military, but you still have a life outside of that. So not only will some of these credentials you pursue, not only will they improve the military side, but they're going to lead you to what you want to do on the outside.
Yep. No, absolutely. Could not have said it any better. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Teresa, please. Army University Sergeant Major.
The Army University. Hey, of course, mine are going to go with a shout out. So first of all, shout out to Sergeant Major of the Army Daily previous, because this is all him, and I can't thank him enough. for giving this to us, and truly supported by Sergeant Major of the Army Grinston now. Again, shout outs to Chuck Rambo, awesome colonel, and I love his enthusiasm and what he does. Dr. Pam Raymer, wow, brilliant, and she scares me with the long words sometimes. I think there's more than two put together, but she rocks it, and she keeps me on a tight leash. Amy Morash, wow, from MCOM. I can't thank you for sharing this stuff with us and just keeping great ties and making this truly a team event, because what we do makes a difference. To all the ed centers, you are the coaches, you are the mentors. Every time I think about you, I get goosebumps. I will tell you, if it wasn't for an ed center, when Private Duncan went and talked to them one day, I wouldn't be working on a doctorate program for free right now. So I worship you, ed centers, and please continue what you're doing. You are where the rubber meets the road, and we appreciate you. And then to the soldiers, hey, just continue to improve yourself every day. If you're sitting there relaxed and you're comfortable, you're wrong. It's funny. I always hear people say, don't just come with the problem, come with the solution. And I want to take that a step further. I want you to not just come up with a solution, but I want you to later challenge that solution and make sure it's still relevant, because that's the key of self-development and to continue our education. And lastly, the Army U motto is education matters. So I truly believe that. And brother, I got goosebumps for the last hour and a half. So thank you for putting them there. And please, soldiers, get out there and do the right thing.
Nope, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And so before I go to my closing comments, we have one last question we're going to try to squeeze in. Wrong one. There we go. Soldier. This young soldier here is ETSing in 10 months.
Yes.
Can he still do the Credentialing Assistance program and obtain certificates?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, there you go, Anthony Morga. You know why this program was set up? It was for people like you.
Yes.
Everybody's going to get out of the Army one day, and we should do a better job. And we have been. The Army has done a great job in the last 8 years of making sure that every soldier, officer, everybody that's ETSing, retiring, whatever, is set up for success. So when they get out of the Army, they have something to feed their families with, to make a living and be a good, honest member of society. So Anthony, this program was designed for people like you. So get your education center, go online, do those things. Your education centers are open. They're virtually open. Go there, get it done, and get signed up now, because you got 10 months. You can get something done in that time. So thank you very much for taking that last question on. All right. So Teresa, so you stole some of my thanks, but I'm going to repeat some of them because I think it's that important. So first off, I want to thank to Amy and for her big shout out. I had a few folks email me today or text me certain things that they were literally getting emails from the installation, whether it was at Bliss or Hood or whatever, that email was getting sent out to them about this broadcast. And so that means that information maybe didn't get to every single soldier, but it got to enough. And we had a great showing tonight. So thank you to Amy, to all the MCOM team, the education centers, that your tireless efforts. And for those that might have watched my previous broadcast last couple weeks ago, was about the continuing education development program and about my passion for education. You know, for me, it started when I was a young soldier. And for us leaders, we have to make sure that our soldiers are set up for success, have the information to make a decision to do something with their lives and make their lives better. So thank you to all them, to all the education centers. And to you three, ladies, I tell you, I have goosebumps because I'm blown away by your passion, your knowledge, and your just eagerness to come online, even if it was outside of your comfort zone, to come online. Teresa, we know this ain't out your comfort zone. We know that this is all you, super extrovert. But thank you so much for coming on, because it is an hour and 24 minutes since we started, and we have not stopped talking about the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. It has been an hour and 24 minutes nonstop. And I'm going to tell you, this hour and 24 minutes to most soldiers is probably the most information they'll ever receive on this. And it's because of you three ladies. And I cannot thank you enough. One, for signing up to do this with me and putting up with all my OCD stuff to get this done and get it right. But look at it. It's done. And thank you so much. There's so many compliments. And it's not for me. The compliments are to you three ladies because of you, what you've done tonight. So thank you very much. And before I close out my second episode of the Breck Time broadcast, I want to talk about my next one. I want to put a shout out. So there's a lot of things that I'm very passionate about. And there was another one that I'm extremely passionate about as well. And it's about your future. And if it wasn't until Captain Stu Southpaw sat me down when I was a young staff sergeant in Hawaii and explained to me about investing, told me to start with $50 a month in a mutual fund, in an IRA. And that's how I started. Now, I'm not a millionaire, but I will tell you that I have a good pot of change sitting in mutual funds. Well, maybe not now because the economy, but they're going to build back up. But the point is the next Breck Time broadcast is going to be about investing for your future, making sure that when you retire, that you have a nest egg that you can fall back on or use it to buy a home, or like I did, using it to help pay for my daughter's education. So that'll be the next Breck Time broadcast. So please tune in, hashtag B.T.B. I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight, and everybody have a wonderful evening. God bless you all. And I'm James Breckenridge, a soldier for life. Hua.